Like in the beginning stages, you're going to get that stuff. So just take everything with a pinch of salt. And I guess it's easier. It's actually easier now than it was probably back then.
Bring this up
because everybody's fucking doing it now. So it's like, it's just second nature. If you walk in a gym, it's literally, if someone's filming themselves, it's second nature. You don't think anything of it. But back in like 2016 to 2018, where nobody was doing it, especially in like the gym that we used to train at, which was
Kingston and Croydon.
Well, we used to train at numerous amounts of gyms, that being one of them. But, you know, most people that would go to these gyms would look at like what you were doing or what we were doing and be like, what the fuck are these guys doing? And it can feel intimidating, and if you don't anchor yourself to something, and I think what you anchored yourself to was like this undeniable like drive to want to be successful and for people to see you as being successful. If you don't anchor yourself to something like that, then it's very easy for you to like take a back seat and, you know, just be like, oh fuck this isn't for me, I can't handle it and not do it anymore.
Well, ultimately it's the framework a be do have, and I think the reality is that people often try and stop you doing things, and they'll ask why you're doing something, but then 5 years later they'll ask you, how have you done this?
But why do you think that is? Why do you think it's human nature that people do that? Because we'll probably get on to talking about being in Dubai, but especially in the UK, like you get that all the time.
So the UK, apologise for anyone, is a rife cesspit of bullshit. So and I can kind of give an example of this, but why I think it's like that is people throw shit at people who are doing things that they cannot do because it creates insecurity for them, and they realize they're getting left behind or someone's trying to step above the parapet. And ultimately that's a choice, and an expression I like is the world's a mirror, not a window. So it's a reflection of people's own insecurities of why they lash out or why they try and talk down. The only exception I would maybe give that to some regard is like parents. So your parents by default are trying to keep you safe. So they want to keep you in the safest position as possible, lowest risk. Not necessarily a bad thing from their perspective, but the biggest success and the biggest wins in life don't come with no risk. So you have to have an element of being able to tolerate risk. And also with great risk comes great reward, but also with risk comes work ethic, because you also know the consequence of this fucks up, which means you kind of got to have you can't be half pregnant, you got to be all in.
And do you think that it's exacerbated by the fact that the fitness industry is a pretty like self-centered, vain place to be? So when you're looking at somebody who's not only probably 10 steps ahead of you in regards to their physique, but also 10 steps ahead of you in regards to like where they're at in life or business, like can you think of a time when you were of that mindset where you would look at someone and be like, oh, what, like, why the fuck are they doing that? Why can't I do that?
I've never had the mentality of why I can't do that. I've had the mentality of how I can do that. And I can remember something distinctly. I thought about this the other day. So I was coached by Jordan Peterson, as you know. I remember when I was working my full-time job, I was like trained by JP website, I had like 5,000 members at maybe £5 a month. They were making like 25 grand a month. I was like, that's fucking insane. At the time that like perplexed my brain. I was like, that's mental. And I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, that's not necessarily a lot of money to me now. But also shows how kind of things change in terms of perspective. Now that's because of what I'm exposed to, or have been exposed to the last few years. But I see people with success of like, okay, he's done that, how can I do that too? Rather than like, fuck that guy, like he doesn't deserve that. Because one of the things I found, the more success I've had and hanging around successful people, there's almost like a code of conduct and respect of like, you both kind of fucking know you've been through the fire and probably been through shit to get to the point you are, because it's like a kind of survival of the fittest who can keep getting kicked in the dick and just keep going and just not fucking care, which is also why I think on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of the people who become successful tend to be kind of a bit emotionally dead inside, because they have to create that emotional stability to not react about fucking Janet at the co-op who's making a video about you or whatever it might be.
And okay, and one more question for you then. You're talking about being kicked in the dick. What do you feel is the biggest kick in the dick that you've experienced since trying to start out in this game?
Quick interjection to today's podcast. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. This will allow us to get better guests, more high quality guests, and ultimately get you high level conversations to help you get everything you want for life. Now, back into the episode. I would say probably the weirdest scenario I've ever had was last summer. My Instagram account kept getting disabled by computer hackers, and I was getting blackmailed for €30,000, and it was one of our competitors. That is probably the weirdest scenario I've ever had in my life because it was a very unusual one. Outside of that, I would probably say there's a few things that kind of give me PTSD. So I made a joke about this before about one of my events why I have two cats. It's because like one's because of like Stripe or like payment processors, and the other one's because of like Instagram and Meta. Because like one of those kind of goes, you're a bit ropey.
Yeah.
So I would say I had a payment process shut down. It cost me £250,000 in recurring revenue. That was less than fun, and that was ignorance tax because I didn't know what a payment dispute was. Like hindsight. And then secondly is having Instagram accounts disabled and not knowing how to get them back. Now I have a contact you can get back in like 30 minutes. So that kind of gives a lot of reassurance. So those would be kind of the biggest things. And that's why I say to people like in business and life, what you want to think about is a SWOT analysis. So like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. From a business perspective, the biggest threat you're always going to have is like traffic source getting cut off. So your social media accounts going down or ad accounts. And then secondly is you can't transact money. You can't do those things, you kind of goosed.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I was actually scrolling through Instagram the other day and someone came up on my feed. I'm not going to say who they are, but they were talking about how, you know, if Instagram got shut down tomorrow, then half your businesses would be fucked. And it's like, okay, cool, but have you actually been through that fire? So it's like, no, probably not. The first question that I would ask is, do you really think that Instagram's ever going to fucking shut down? No. When was the last time? I think the last time Instagram went like doolally was around Black Lives Matter, and that probably went down for like 24 hours or something, then it came back up. Like Instagram is not going anywhere. It might have what happened, whereas something like TikTok might come along, but Instagram's smart enough now, or Meta is smart enough now, that anyone who's a competitor to them, they're just going to swallow them up. So it's never, first of all, Instagram and social media is never going to go anywhere. I say never, I won't ever say never, but it's highly unlikely that that stream of social media is going to go anywhere. And secondly, if you're going to listen to someone who says something like, you know, what happens if Instagram goes down? Like, okay, cool. Has your Instagram gone down? Because I don't think your Instagram actually has ever gone down. And like, if you talk about it from that perspective, someone like you who's had it happen to you numerous amounts of times, not only to you, but then also clients as well. And now you have that resource that to a degree would separate, I don't know, like your coaching from somebody else's, because if something like that does happen, you're going to want to know someone or have that contact that you know will make the difference.
That's why I say to a lot of people working with this, essentially like an insurance policy, is because like, dude, there's nothing bad that can happen to you that hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like, I kind of know, like, and that's also why I de-risk. I've got like 8 payment processors. I've got multiple Instagram accounts. Also don't generate all my leads just from one platform. So like, this is kind of really warped, and I kind of hope this doesn't happen. But let's say, for example, someone comes along and deletes the entire Instagram app tomorrow. I'm like, cool, well, this is going to fun new game. I have a better skill set than everyone else, and I'm also on these other platforms. So guess what? I'm just going to go and start running ads on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I'll just clean up, because the other guys won't be as quick as I am to know how to do that. And I already know how to do it.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with social media in general, it's kind of like you have tools in your toolbox, and you want to be able to utilize specific tools at specific times. And obviously, one really like strong tool is being able to create paid advertising as alongside organic content, and utilizing them both at the same time, because it's all well and good being good at one thing, but if you can't master them all, or at least utilize them all, then you're never going to get to a specific place within your business. Because if you look at a vast majority of people who have organic content that does extremely well, that becomes saturated, and then they start to decrease. What tends to happen a lot of the time is they start to decrease their value, because they think that they've got a lot of volume, so they think that they can make money off of that by selling low ticket prices. Whereas if you can, optimize both and place yourself in a market as like the expert, then that gives you the ability to be able to charge more.
Now, if you enjoyed this clip and you're a coach, creator, or a business owner, and you want help in terms of how to scale your business using ads, AI, content, marketing, a lot of things we talk about on the show, then hit the link at the top line of our description in the YouTube video. You can book on a call with us and walk through the whole process, audit your business, and show you where there's huge, huge opportunities for you to scale.